My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
It is essential that our team learns to work with our new recruit, not against him.
I'm a geek, walking down the street.
Check the computer.
The mainframe computer. I access the mainframe.
At the end of this day, one shall stand, one shall fall. Time to find out.
Welcome to Basically a Geek Show. Here are your hosts, Mike and Jack.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode 35 of Basically a Geek Show, and wow, a lot of stuff dropped in the last 24 hours that we've got to talk about. We are going to get through it, though, rest assured.
It's almost like they've been listening to the show and listening specifically because I'm always right. And it's like becoming a parody of itself, just as I am a parody of myself.
Well, we're going to start from the beginning, but we're actually going to start some old news that we meant to talk about last week, but we didn't. The show, we try to plan these shows out, but the way it is, we start talking about things, we tend to ramble, and things kind of get dropped or, we kind of pass by, more or less, without kind of realizing it. The shows kind of naturally evolve and flow as we record. The good news is that a news item dropped, I think it was either yesterday or early today, that ties in with the news that we didn't talk about last week, and so it all kind of worked out for us, and that is that the hub no longer exists. Now, for those like myself who exist in Canada, the hub never existed because we did not get it up here. But in the United States, of course, basically you had Discovery Channel who had their kids show Discovery, their kids channel Discovery Family. Discovery Channel partnered with Hasbro. Hasbro bought a huge stake in Discovery Family, and they renamed it The Hub, and it was supposed to be a competitor to the channel's Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon down in the States. Well, yeah, that experiment seems to have come to an end. Hasbro is not ending their stake in the channel, but the way that it's being explained is that Discovery is buying back a majority stake in the channel. And they are rebranding it back from the hub back to Discovery Family. But they mentioned that Hasbro would still provide, I believe, the 9 to 3 block of programming, of children's programming. So children's cartoons on the channel from 9 to 3 would still be Hasbro produced. At first we thought, it was almost sort of a non-story when it right. leaked, because it's like, oh, well, okay, Hasbro is no longer going to have an equal share in the hub, but they're still going to provide content, and it's still going to be a vehicle for Hasbro intellectual property.
Right, and I mean, let's face it, the hub itself, I don't think you have it up there in Canada, do you?
I explained at the beginning of the show, we do not.
Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, so they didn't show all that many Hasbro shows on the hub. It was mostly like, they show G1 reruns, usually in the wee hours of the morning. Same thing with G.I. Joe. They show shit like fucking Alf and, oh god, some other weird shit too.
From what I could gather, the hub in the States was, their programming block consisted of current shows of Hasbro properties. So that was like G.I. Joe Renegades, Transformers Prime, My Little Pony. Then they had, like the second tier were basically any other animated shows that they had the rights to, of course, be older My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, and Transformers shows, right. Littlest Pet Shop, that sort of thing. And then finally the third tier was stuff that wasn't Hasbro produced, but stuff that they could get the rights to, like, for example, Elf or the occasional, family movie that they could throw on.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, I mean, I think they found that they didn't have enough current relevant content to really justify building a network around. I mean,
which is why I kind of see this as sort of, when it first leaked a week ago, I didn't see it, I almost saw it as a non-story, because I thought this would be more beneficial towards Hasbro. They'd only be responsible for that 3 to 9 block. Discovery would be responsible for the rest, and maybe that would be the best way to give Hasbro its own presence on, on network television. Thing is, again, a new story came out in the past 24 hours that added a whole new dimension to it. Originally, it was announced that the new upcoming Transformers show, Robots in Disguise, would be on Discovery Family. And again, that made sense. Hasbro's keeping a share in the network. They're still going to provide content. Transformers being one of their flagship shows is going to be on it. Okay, that all makes sense. No.
Yeah.
No. The news coming out is that Robots in Disguise will be on Cartoon Network and not Discovery Family. We even got a quote from, I'm trying to find the guy's name, Finn Arneson, Senior VP of Global Distribution at Hasbro, said, as the regularly top-rated U.S. TV network in primetime among Transformers' core audience of boys, ages 6 to 11 and 9 to 14, our beloved Autobots and Decepticons will feel very much at home on Cartoon Network, and to seal our new partnership with Cartoon Network on the 30th anniversary of the Transformers franchise makes this a truly iconic event. They did go out of their way to say that this is not them showing a lack of confidence in Discovery Family, that they basically, but I don't see how it isn't really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're taking what is essentially their flagship show and moving it to a competing network. Mm-hmm. I don't see how that could be perceived as anything but.
I mean, if you're a Discovery Channel, Hasbro still owns a minority stake in this Discovery Family network, and Hasbro's agreed to provide children's programming for the 9 to 3 block, which is really the core block, because that's early in the morning and it's after school.
Yeah.
But what we've got here is Hasbro saying, well, our flagship children's show, our top-rated children's show isn't going to be on the network that we have a minority stake in. It's going to be on, in fact, a competitor's network. And this is all very strange because, okay, Cartoon Network and Transformers do have a relationship. The Armada series that Jack and I are a big fan of was a collaborative effort between Hasbro, Takara Tomy, I think it was just Takara back then. So Hasbro, Takara, Cartoon Network, and a Japanese animation studio. So Cartoon Network has been a contributor to Transformers, and they've been a partner in Transformers, but all of this sort of came to a head with Transformers Animated, and I was under the impression that the relationship ended at the end of Transformers Animated rather poorly, with Cartoon Network even owning a part of the Transformers Animated intellectual property, because apparently it was their design studios who came up with a lot of the artwork, and so they were the ones who were sort of holding Transformers Animated, quote, I guess, in hostage in a lot of ways.
Right.
And so I was under the impression that the Hasbro people and the Transformers and the Cartoon Network people were not on the best of terms.
Yeah, the whole thing with, I don't know, the first thing I thought of when I heard that R.I. Derp, as I call it, was moving to Cartoon Network was, oh man, oh god, this feels so much like Animated all over again. But, as you point out, I mean, Armada was also part of that same joint venture.
Transformers and Cartoon Network went hand in hand, not just in terms of airing the show, but in terms of actually developing the show. from Armada through animated. So that's Armada, Energon, Cybertron, and animated. And I like 2 of those 4, so, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I really don't have any feelings or opinion on this except for the fact that, you know, I think it is the smart move for Hasbro. I really do. The hub itself, that was kind of like when that was conceived of about the same time Hasbro was like, you know, we're an intellectual property company now. We're not going to do toys. Hey, look over there. It's Tupac. Everyone turns around. Everyone looks back. Hey, guess what'll be in stores for Christmas? And, you know, it's kind of like, and they quickly realized, no, we need to do what we do. And it's almost like they got drunk and got this wild, crazy scheme, and then like the next morning we're like, oh my God, what did we do?
Oh shit, we own a network now?
Yeah, exactly. And it was a decent idea. They executed competently enough, I think. When it came right down to it, I think they just realized the truth, which is, as I said earlier, you know, they don't have enough relevant, strong content to justify building a network around. And I think the move to, you know, kind of join back up with CN is a smart one. Discovery Family has always just been kind of like, whatever. And they realize that.
But I gotta think, you know, again, if you're a Discovery Channel and Hasbro tells you they're going to provide children's programming from 9 to 3, and then they send their top-rated, well, I can't say top-rated because it's not out yet, but their flagship brand's new show over to a rival network, that's got to piss some people off.
Yeah, it's got to piss them off, but at the same time, I mean, of course, I'm sure Discovery is notified of it, and, you know, who knows, maybe there is some bad blood there. Maybe something dirty happened or something, I don't know, that necessitated or caused, you know, Discovery to take back over some of it. Maybe Hasbro's doing this to be kind of like, yeah, well, fuck your mother. And we'll take our, main draw of a show and put it elsewhere.
But I don't know. It kind of just seems like if this is happening, then it seems like Hasbro is essentially admitting defeat on a certain front because their their flagship show is going to be on another network that they do not have an ownership stake in. And the sense that I get is that they're just going to use a bunch of reruns that they have the rights to fill out their obligations to Discovery Family. So it seems like this is truly the end of the Hasbro network dream.
Definitely. And, I think you and I are in agreement that that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Hasbro's thoughts are, well, sure, we own a stake in Discovery. But even that being said, they'll probably still make more money by doing this. I'm sure, the extra revenue, the extra ratings from moving to CN will more than compensate for what they, would have made just by owning part of the revenue from Discovery.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Well, that is true. That is true. I'm interested to see how this plays out in the long term because, I suspect that Hasbro won't have a ownership stake in Discovery Family much longer. But on to some comic book news. First up, slightly off script, but Mike saw episode 2 of Gotham. It still sucks. Moving on.
Told you so.
Moving on. Marvel is kind of making, it seems to me, sabotage isn't the right word, but they're making Avengers 3 look really unappealing before Avengers 2 even came out. There is a rumor going around that Marvel will not use Captain America and Thor in Avengers 3 so they can keep the actors Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans on for future singles films. Now, I believe we talked about this on the show before, that our sources, have relayed to us that essentially the way it works is that these actors really only have a certain number of movie dates lined up, and these movies aren't specified as being either Avengers or standalone. It's just you have a X number deal with Marvel, and however that happens to be filled out, either by standalone movies or Avengers films, then that's that. Chris Evans has stated that he plans on retiring as Captain America after his 5th movie. And right now he's at 3. Avengers 2 will be 4.
Yeah, which will be like what? Loki 4. It'll be Loki 4.
And so there's that. I'm sure Chris Hemsworth, Thor, he's got a similar setup where after probably a increasingly shrinking number of dates left, films left, he's probably gone. Robert Downey Jr. actually completed his obligations as Iron Man after Iron Man 3 and only signed an extension for, I think, 2 more films. And people are thinking those are going to be the last 2 Avengers 2 and Avengers 3. So it seems as if in an attempt to sort of keep Captain America and Thor around as long as possible, they're going to withhold them from Avengers 3 and have them appear elsewhere. Okay, I'm going to say, from what we know about Avengers 3, looking to be the story of Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, I really don't think Captain America not being in it isn't necessarily a bad thing, but Thor absolutely needs to be in it, because Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, that is a space opera story. That takes place in the cosmos, and, well, that's kind of Thor's domain, the way that they've kind of established what Asgard is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, being sort of this, basically being an alien world. And I don't know, I think it would just be weird to do kind of an intergalactic movie like Avengers 3 seems to be, and not include Thor in it. That just seems like something would be missing. But on a larger point, Avengers 3 seems to be building up to be like a huge cinematic climax of a lot of story threads that have begun in a lot of cases since before even the first Avengers movie. For example, one of the Infinity Gems that will play a role was the Tesseract, which was introduced in the first Captain America movie that predates the first Avengers movie. So, to have Avengers 3 sort of be this monumentous event, it does seem like it would be lacking if Captain America and Thor weren't involved.
It would definitely. I mean, I like Thor better, and I liked the Thor movies better, even the second one. But, I mean, just saying from box office returns, Captain America 2 did pretty solid, even though I thought it was kind of mediocre. Mm-hmm. The movie itself performed well. And maybe they're banking on that. But at the same time, the first Avengers made a fucking $1 billion. So, I think they're running the risk of almost neutering this sequel before it even gets off of the ground. I mean, I get it. You know, these contracts are running out, but, you know, if Marvel's game plan is to try to use these guys where they'll have the best impact, then put them in the fucking Avengers movie. I mean, we know they plan on bringing in new characters into the Avengers and phasing out some as contracts run out, but they're going to be, let's face it, they're going to be bringing in probably mediocre characters. It's not going to feel the same. No one likes it. Yeah, I mean, no one likes it when one of their favorite characters is played by a new actor. No one really likes that. It never feels the same if you're attached to the old one, and we are attached to these characters and these actors portraying them and their way of doing so. This is, you know, I'm about ready to give up on this shit, to be honest with you, sir.
Yeah, with Avengers 2 starting to look more and more bloated, and this, like, I don't, like, What are you doing, Marvel? What are you doing? I don't know. I just don't know. I understand that there are, again, the way there are these dates, and it's really up to Marvel how they use the dates, and I understand the thinking of, hey, if we keep them out of Avengers 3, we can have them do other stuff, but again, I think it would really seem lacking if these characters aren't in Avengers 3, and if Avengers 3 is really the last film, that Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans will appear in, then you can ultimately write that film in a way that gives those characters a proper send-off.
Yeah. And it only makes sense. They've been there this far. Ride the horse that brought you. Mm-hmm. And, they, as you said, they've been invested into the plot up to this point. Let's have them at least finish it. And then, hey, the new guys can get their own intro movies, whatever. Unless, I guess maybe Marvel's afraid if they do that, then no one will want to see the other. I don't know. They're going to have to do it eventually at some point unless they renew the contracts, though, is the point. Mm-hmm. So let's put them where it makes the most sense, where, it would conceivably have the biggest bang for the buck, and put them in Avengers 3 so we don't have fucking Ant-Man all over the place. Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah. Indeed. Moving on to the small screen. It seems as if Fox is considering doing a live-action X-Men show.
Yeah, and again, we see the proliferation of a trend of taking blockbuster movie franchises and making them into, I'm just going to go ahead and just get on the prejudgment bandwagon here, mediocre TV shows. Mm-hmm. I mean, are there any, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. maybe. I haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I've watched a bit. Good. I've watched a bit of it. I'm going to say I don't hate it, but I'm a Marvel fan, and it didn't really win me over enough to become required viewing for me.
So, I mean, at best, these shows seem to be watchable. At worst, they're just crap. And, I get it. Again, it's a case of evidently actors running out of contracts or what have you. And they want to keep the rights. They want to keep things moving. So they're bringing out this TV show.
I mean, the idea about X-Men, the thing about X-Men, right, is that with its multitude of characters, it's really easy to fill out a cast.
It is. Now, yeah, and that is the show's potential saving grace if they do it good and make the stories compelling and take some lesser-known X-Men and give them some fleshing out and development. There's a huge universe there that they can play with. So, I mean, from that level, it does make sense, and it does seem like they could do something good with it. I'm just really not sure I have that much trust to say that I think that they will do something good with it.
Oh, yes. It is mentioned that, by all accounts, the original X-Men cast, and by original X-Men cast, I mean the cast from the first 3 X-Men movies.
Right.
They wrapped things up with Days of Futures Past. That was concluded in a way that sort of kind of rebooted everything, but saved. Basically, it erased X-Men 3 from existence, which is only a good thing. But that cast is done, and they seem to be going forward with the First Class cast, who of course are introduced in First Class, and then were a significant presence in Days of Futures Past, and will be like the primary cast in the upcoming X-Men Age of Apocalypse. I don't know, Age of Apocalypse just kind of sounds like a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
It does. It really does.
But X-Men Age of Apocalypse will be a thing, and apparently that's when all the First Class contracts run out. So when that happens, I guess Fox's plan is, well, we can always sort of continue that story on TV, either by recasting the characters for TV or simply using different characters in the same universe. I don't know. Gotham has, between Gotham just being terrible and Arrow just flat out ripping off the plot to Batman Begins for its third season, I don't have a lot of confidence in these superhero television shows at the moment.
And now we have The Flash either out or coming out very soon.
I've seen previews for that. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I've never really cared about The Flash, period. I don't know. I mean, I know he's got his fans, and I'm not hating on him like I Aquaman. I'm just saying I've just never really cared about him.
I'd be willing to give The Flash a chance. I think it could work. The big problem that I have with a lot of these is that it's when you take superheroes are inherently grand in scale, and everything just ends up feeling so small when you transport it into television. And again, that's just the nature of TV, smaller budgets, but that kind of just proves to me that maybe superheroes shouldn't be utilized in that fashion unless it's animated, where you can basically create whatever settings you want. It just seems like, for example, we talked about Arrow, how Arrow just looked cheap from what we both had seen from it.
Yeah.
And that is a consequence of being on television. You don't have the budgets, you don't have the cinematic budgets needed to realize a lot of these grand stories that superheroes rely on and superheroes promote. But yeah, I don't know. If again, like you said, the saving grace is the large cast that X-Men offers. And if they can make it work, then all the power to them. I'll be pleasantly surprised. But the more that this trend kind of goes on, the more I'm content to just say, you know what? If you're going to do a superhero show on TV, just make it a cartoon.
I think that's best. I mean, of course, then again, you have crappy animation styles to contend with that we probably would not like the way the
DC animated universe did rather
well. True. Now, now I've watched a few of those and they seem to be pretty good. I'm just saying, like, in general, the way things seem to go. I'm thinking of Teen Titans with its ugly animation, things like that, which I know I'll probably get some hate for that, but whatever. I thought it looked like ass. The show itself wasn't bad. I just hated the animation. But yeah, I agree. It should be left as in an animated format, just for that reason. There's a lot that you can do with a smaller budget potentially. And I don't know. Live action does not inherently mean better. And we used to understand that, but now it seems like we don't, because now we have all this CGI and it can blend the two almost seamlessly, quote unquote. But, let's just go back to the way it was fine. Mm-hmm. Wasn't anything wrong with it? Especially if you're doing a TV show. TV shows don't have, goddamn, Game of Thrones has, I think they said it costs like 80 or 90 million an episode.
Well, see, though, that's the thing, that's HBO. They have the money to do that. The CW does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really compare what HBO can do. Like for example, like if you wanted to give HBO, and you said HBO make an X-Men TV show, I would be legitimately intrigued by that, because they have the budget to make that viable. I guess this would be on Fox. Fox does Gotham. To Gotham's credit, Gotham doesn't feel as confined and small and cheap as Arrow does. But again, that show's got other problems, so.
Yeah. Of all the shows that they have brought out or are talking about bringing out, this one does have the the fewest inherent things that they can fuck up, just because of the nature of the universe. If any of these is going to succeed, depending on, again, how they do it, I could see it being the X-Men. There's maybe I'll actually see Gambit get a fair shake. I know they're redoing him in the movie, but I don't trust that either. Maybe the TV show will offer a counterpart to that I'll like. Who knows?
Well, speaking of X-Men, you mentioned about how there is that wide universe they can draw from, and it is large, but it's not going to be getting any bigger because Marvel Comics has issued a decree. They two decrees here. They have put a halt to the people working on the X-Men book to not introduce any more characters into the X-Men book, into the X-Men stories. And they have decreed that the Fantastic Four comic series is canceled. Now, what does this news have to do with the cinematic movie universes? Well,
fuck Fantastic Four.
Well, what do Fantastic Four and X-Men have in common? They are both, in terms of films, property of Fox.
Yeah.
Fox is currently running with this X-Men film series that, after floundering for a few years, really received the shot in the arm that it needed with First Class and then Days of Futures Past, and seems to be resurgent at the moment. And then, of course, there is the Fantastic Four reboot that they're doing that is much maligned, but to be fair to it, it's not out yet. We haven't even seen trailers for it yet, so I'm not too sure we can criticize it too much. Point being that Fox's recent superhero offerings seem to be picking up steam, and this Fantastic Four movie that they're doing is going to be in the same continuity as the X-Men series that they're doing. They're sort of building their own cinematic universe with the franchises that they have rights to. And Marvel seems to be trying to cut off some of the interest in those characters by neutering the X-Men books and straight out canceling the Fantastic Four books.
Which, I mean, on one hand, that almost seems like Marvel's cannibalizing itself or shooting itself in the foot. Because Fantastic Four, I mean, I don't know what kind of readership that has. For one, I've said my thoughts on them before. I won't go into it again. But X-Men's pretty big. But, I mean, from Marvel's standpoint, what do they care? They got Wolverine.
Wolverine's dead now. So.
Well, I mean, I'm saying in general, they've got Wolverine, like the character, whether he's alive or dead at the moment, they've got the movies. They don't need the fucking comic books at this point. Marvel could stop making comic books altogether right now.
Yeah,
it wouldn't hurt them.
Yeah, that was the first thing I kind of took from this, is that I think Marvel's sort of forgetting comic books' place in all of this. Comic books do tend to see a bump after a blockbuster movie has come out of that hero. For example, I know Iron Man sales kind of went up when the first Iron Man movie came out and surprised everyone by being really, really good. But the way that it works is that the comic books need the movies, not the other way around. The comic books drum up the movies drum up interest in the books. So I don't know. Marvel isn't going to dissuade people from watching Fox's X-Men or Fantastic Four movies. If people want to watch those movies, they're going to go see those movies, and it's not going to matter what's on the comic book shelves. So the shelves of comic book shops.
I mean, Marvel, just from the characters that they've got for X-Men. X-Men doesn't need new characters. Marvel's got this huge stall that, is there. They've got all these properties that they do own the cinematic rights to, generating income, plus getting income off the movies that Fox is making. They get a portion of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, even though, Marvel Studios can't make X-Men movies, they still get some of the money from it. They've got the Avengers thing going, which is just massive with that shared universe. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., whether we like it or not, it is a popular show, so they've got that going. they're doing fine. They can afford to do this, and it won't really hurt. It really only hurts the fans, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It might hurt Fox a bit, but Fox, again, they've got all this shit that they can do with X-Men. It's not going to hurt them that much. Fantastic Four, whatever. They still own the movie rights to it.
Mm-hmm. And that's my point. At the end of the day, the movies are what's important, and Fox has those, so they're going to come out. I don't think they're going to be hurt any by this in terms of box office sales. If anything, Marvel is screwing themselves over because an X-Men or Fantastic Four movie that Fox does might spur people into picking up Fantastic Four or X-Men Marvel comics, which they would obviously get the profits from.
Yeah.
But instead, they seem to be trying to spite Fox. I don't know. It's weird. Marvel just, you know what, Marvel, if you don't want Fox doing these film series, then just nut up and buy the rights back. God damn it, Disney owns you now. You could easily afford it.
Yeah, but if they did that, they'd have to renegotiate all the contracts, all the other shit probably. They're in a better position just getting the residuals off the shit that Fox does, to be honest with you. I don't think, Marvel is mostly hurting themselves with this, monetarily speaking. Again, though, I think the real losers in this are the fans. The fans that made these franchises what they are, that made them popular, from the genesis of these franchises, the comic books. They're the ones who are really actually being fucked on this. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, I don't give a flying fuck about Fantastic Four. I think it's retarded. Bring me the head of Reed Richards on a fucking pike. But, for those fans, I feel for them. I mean, that sucks. It's not fair to the fans.
Indeed. And it'll be interesting to see how long that actually lasts. I suspect that if the Marvel Fantastic Four movie is any sort of success, then they're going to get some Fantastic Four books out pretty quickly to capitalize on it. Again, this just seems baffling because you'd think that this would be an easy, that it's almost free. They don't have to put any effort into producing the films, and any interest in the comic books those films generate is theirs. But now there won't be comics. It just seems weird. Just seems weird. But speaking of another company that Marvel is having some issues with, let's talk about Sony and Spider-Man. Because this is interesting.
Oh, dear God. For the record, I said this would probably happen.
Well, there's a lot to sort through, actually, with Sony and Spider-Man.
Though you evidently were right in your thinking on Venom.
What, that it wouldn't be possible to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing, let's just start. The Venom movie is reportedly being scrapped by Sony.
Which actually makes me kind of sad.
It wasn't going to work anyway. The Sinister Six movie that they had planned is apparently still a go. But here's the thing. So the time difference between Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man that rebooted it was 8 years. We didn't even go a full decade before we rebooted Spider-Man. So, okay, we reboot Spider-Man. And we're 2 movies into this rebooted series. 2 movies in. And according to reports, the Sinister Six movie that's still a go has been rewritten from just being a sequel to The Amazing Spider-Man to being another reboot.
Yeah. Yeah. Spider-Man 2, a box office success. Shit movie. Was it that bad though? Was it that bad they gotta reboot this fucker again?
Amazing Spider-Man 3 no longer has a release date. There's still clearly a lot going on behind the scenes of Sony Pictures. This is all from comicbookmovie.com, by the way. The ever-reliable Badass Digest confirm that they too have heard about plans to possibly incorporate Spidey into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll get to that in just a bit. But the big thing is that Sony is going for a reboot, to reboot Spider-Man with the Sinister Six, having a new actor playing Spidey who works with the villains, Dirty Dozen style, to take down a larger threat.
Dirty Dozen style. And no, I'm not thinking a porno reference. I'm just thinking of like zombie Lee Marvin and like a fucking, I don't know.
The plan is to put Spider-Man on the shelf for 4 or 5 years and see if they can develop any of the side characters into their own franchises. This one seems to be more likely in some ways, especially since Sinister Six has taken the release date previously held by Amazing Spider-Man 3.
See, though, that makes me wonder about, like, the contract for the rights, though, because, I mean, you and I know that Fox has to make at least as we understand it, a Spider-Man movie every 4 years, or they lose the rights to it. Now, what makes me question this is, well, now, if they're shelving Spider-Man for that long, then maybe something else is packaged. Maybe it's the same contract that X-Men is in, perhaps, or something. No, because this is Sony.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would think the rights would revert back to Marvel in that case, unless they get something.
I don't. Obviously, it's not. If they're thinking about putting him on they wouldn't put him on the shelf that long.
Right. Exactly.
But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man was supposed to. When Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, came out, they talked about these grandiose plans. They talked about 6 Spider-Man movies, Sinister Six, Venom. They had this huge thing that this was going to be the reboot of a whole new franchise. And we're only 2 movies into that, and apparently they're just ready to cancel it all and hit the reboot button again.
And that's why this shit is going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at Marvel. They have not. Okay, well, they have rebooted things. They did the Hulk a couple times. But I mean, since the Avengers line, as we know it now, they really haven't rebooted anything. And here's what I'm getting at with this. Why do we even fucking care? We want to see a story that plays out over time and is cohesive. And if you keep hitting the fucking reset button and we keep having to sit through another goddamned origin story that, let's face it, even though some of them are still amusing after we've seen them a couple times, that starts to get old.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to lose interest. I mean, we're going to lose a lot of interest. I'm just at the point fuck you. I'm not a Spider-Man fan that much of one to begin with, but I've watched the movies because some of them are kind of fun. The first Amazing Spider-Man was very good. So they're kind of fun. But this just makes me think, why should I even care? You keep hitting the reset button. I mean, no progress gets made.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that beginning, middle, and end, because nowadays that's how movies are almost. They're chapters and usually trilogies. You get enough of a conclusion to give you enough satisfaction to where you don't feel like you got ass raped in most cases. And then, it plays out over 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like been the format for a while. And if you keep resetting, we don't get that.
No.
I say fuck them. God damn it.
Yeah, this is getting ridiculous. People were already saying it was too soon to reboot Spider-Man the first time, but Amazing Spider-Man won enough people over to sort of say, okay, this seems all right. Let's see where this goes. But only 2 movies into this supposed renaissance of the character, and we're already going to hit the reboot button again. And as I alluded to, there are plans within Sony to lend Spider-Man to Marvel Studios to include him in some Avengers films. This would be a win-win thing because, okay, Iron Man 3, Captain America 2, and Thor 2 all received huge bumps following the Avengers. So I guess the thinking is, if we let Marvel put Spider-Man in the Avengers movies, then our Spider-Man movies will get a bump after that. But apparently this has gone from Andrew Garfield Spider-Man to, no, forget all that. We're hitting the reboot button again, and this is going to be a new Spider-Man that we're going to introduce in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then also in our Sinister Six movie. It just seems like, okay, a few weeks back, I talked about how Sony is desperately trying to turn one franchise into a whole cinematic universe by trying to stretch the Spider-Man characters out. And I said I didn't think it was going to work. And it seems as if slowly but surely Sony realized that too, and now they're panicking, running around with their heads, like chickens with their heads cut off, and now they're like, we're gonna reboot all of the things!
And, you know, I'll maintain what I said earlier about the Venom movie. It's just crazy enough to work. I would have liked to have seen it. Just because it broke the mold. I would have liked to have seen it done and tried. But I mean, I recognize that Sony doesn't have the piss away money that Marvel has to just be like, hey, let's throw this fucker against the wall and see if it stacks. Mm-hmm. You know, Jizzman, the movie.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of weird, obscure shit that no one's ever heard of, i.e. Guardians of the Galaxy, or something that most people don't give a flying fuck about, i.e. Ant-Man. You know, Sony doesn't have experiment money, unfortunately, it would seem, or just isn't willing to ante up. I still think, I get what you're saying about Venom, and to an extent, I agree with you. My acceptance of that idea and of that movie is based mostly out of a hope and desire that it would have been done competently and would have bucked the trend, kind of like, as I said before, become the next Godzilla, the thing that's like, what? That worked? Mm-hmm. You know, and it still gives me this wonderful pride to refer to Godzilla in that sense. Go! Anyways, sorry. But yeah, you know, I would have liked to have seen it happen. I like the idea of a movie based around an interesting, likable villain that you can kind of, for lack of a better term, get behind and get engaged with. I like that idea, and I thought Venom was a really good choice for that. But evidently Sony sees it differently, and you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. It happens.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll dust it off again, or, you know, we'll see that incorporated into something else, aspects of that.
I don't know. It's just, okay, so I don't know if our listeners are familiar with the Honest trailer.
If not, look it up on YouTube right the hell now. Pull your car off of the road if you're listening to us on iTunes or whatever, and fucking look this shit up.
I believe their Amazing Spider-Man Honest trailer, Amazing Spider-Man, for the trailer for the Amazing Spider-Man had the phrase, it was either Honest Trailers or it was something else entirely, I forget, but some comedy thing on YouTube looking at superhero movies said, the Amazing Spider-Man reboots halfway through the movie. And we're kind of at that point where 2 movies into the reboot, we're rebooting it again. And good God. Like, oh yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had its problems, but you know what? It still made a lot of money. That proves that there are still a lot of people interested in seeing what you're doing. So maybe you take that trust that you still have and just make a really good Amazing Spider-Man 3 and try to go from there. Like, this seems so panicky.
Yeah. I mean, every movie franchise kind of has its installment that either sucks ass or just isn't as good. I mean, Transformers had, you know, Revenge of the Fallen. Most people refer to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as the dud in the indie trilogy, though I liked it. I didn't like Temple of Doom though, which is a lot of people's favorite. But I mean, subjectiveness aside, most movie series have this one that most people think isn't as good. Even the original Star Wars trilogy, a lot of people said Return of the Jedi was kind of weak.
Mm-hmm.
Though it was my favorite. I'm a horrible person, aren't I? But anyways, you
also don't like Empire, which is just blasphemy.
I don't. No, I don't.
That's like the best one.
No, but it's not the end of the world if one of your movies in your trilogy or in your series doesn't quite hit the mark. I mean, yes, Spider-Man was an egregious abortion of a movie, or Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 2. God, so many reboots. I'm scared, old me. But, so it sucked. Like you said, make a third one, make it awesome, learn from your mistakes, and fucking go on. Don't be like, oh my god, must reboot, spam, spam, spam. It's not a muffin button. Yes, it is. Calm the fuck down, Sony. Calm the fuck down. Stop it. Just stop.
It's kind of like that Cracked video where they're like, we've run out of things to reboot.
Yeah.
I mean, so now we're rebooting the reboots. It's just...
Yo, dog. We've reached Inception levels of rebooting.
And, just from a critical standpoint, I'm disappointed because the Amazing Spider-Man series might have had its problems, but I liked a lot of what they did. I liked Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. I liked the casting overall. I thought the casting was very strong. Those movies' problems were not in its casting or even in the acting departments. It was mostly all writing where the problems lay. But the casting and acting was very strong. So again, I just rather see Sony buckle up and say we're going to take what we have and make a really good third movie than freak the fuck out over this and take everything back from square one where it won't be as good. I don't know. This just, I couldn't believe what I was reading when I saw this. Like, no, they're not doing it. But apparently they're at least considering it. And the future of Spider-Man seems incredibly in flux. If you are a Spider-Man fan, you have my deepest condolences. Because this must be just insanely frustrating, trying to figure out what the next film's going to be. But Sony seems to have their eye on another sort of cinematic universe. And despite the fact that their Spider-Man plan isn't exactly going as planned, they seem to be doing the same thing here, where they're going to take one story and try to stretch it out into multiple stories. And can anyone guess what this plan revolves? What story are we talking about? What movie franchise are they going to try to build up here?
Let's go on this ride, sir.
Robin Hood. Yes.
Mike did not stutter.
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
So, basically, the gist of it is that
Alan Rickman, GTFO?
Well, yes. Like I said, what the plan I'm about to lay out, I am in complete favor of if they can get Alan Rickman to play the Sheriff of Nottingham. If they can get him, then I'm on board for all of these movies.
And if not, I'm sure Liam Neeson's probably calling them right now.
And you know what? Here's the thing about Robin Hood. I really dug the Doctor Who episode, Robot of Sherwood. So you know what?
It's okay.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know.
Fuck you.
So yeah, let's go on the Robin Hood adventure. So in Robin Hood, the plan is for Sony to basically someone has made a pitch for a Robin Hood cinematic universe. and Sony is in negotiations to buy the rights to that deal, where you basically have Robin Hood and his merry men of thieves, Little John, Friar Tuck, Will Scarlet, and according to ScreenRant.com, they are going to be re-envisioned as being an Avengers-style team of heroes for England's Middle Ages, with each getting their own solo film in addition to one or more team-ups.
But, okay, so Robin Hood, I mean, if they do it in kind of like the same format, Robin Hood, and who the fuck else have you got? Little John? I mean... okay, they're saying
Little John, Friar Tuck, and Will Scarlet are the ones. And then, of course, you could probably throw in Alan Adale, the bard.
Now, if they follow the kind of character template from Prince of Thieves from '92 for Friar Tuck, I would watch the shit out of that movie. Let's give thanks to the Lord and His bounty by learning about beer. Amen, brother. Amen. Preach it, sir. Preach it. Preach the gospel.
I mean, but, like, will anyone want to see a Will Scarlet movie? Really? Does anyone know much about Will Scarlet?
Will Scarlet would be like the Hawkeye.
Oh.
And Will Scarlet. Did someone mention Will Scarlet? Shut up, Will. Okay. You know. I mean, this could be interesting. They're talking about like it's going to be almost like they're throwing around the words Mission Impossible and Fast and the Furious.
Only in medieval England.
Yeah. Drifting with horses. And the funny thing is, I mean, horses, they don't care where they shit when they shit. Fucking horses' ass flies around the corner, slow motion. Bloop, bloop.
Oh,
I'm getting stuff. Oh, God. I mean, it could be interesting. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, I like Robin Hood. As a general rule. One of my favorite films growing up as a kid was the Disney Robin Hood, where they were all animals. Robin Hood was a fox, Little John was a bear, Prince John was the lion. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite films growing up. When I was a little kid. I loved Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves when I was a kid when I first saw it, and then I recently rediscovered it about a year ago and fell in love with it all over again. It's like, this was awesome! I was severely disappointed by the Russell Crowe version. Because,
you just can't handle true history, sir.
Robin Hood did not write the Magna Carta.
I'm looking at a blockbuster movie here that says otherwise, sir.
Well, so, I was disappointed in that. And so, if this can give us, a good modern Robin Hood movie that doesn't involve Kevin Costner, then by all means, let's do that. Again, if you can get Alan Rickman on board for these, then I will watch all of them.
Oh, fuck yes. I would now
cancel Christmas!
Since we're making fucking ridiculous TV shows, let's just have a Sheriff of Nottingham played by Alan Rickman TV show. Let's have that. Bring me that.
My wife, Crone!
Yes.
Just this once, I want something in my life that's pure!
Can we not have that? I mean, sure, he died in the movie, but since when has that ever stopped anybody? For fuck's sake.
I'll cut your heart out with a spoon!
I mean, you've got the Sony execs fucking having fucking sexual intercourse on the fucking the reboot button. I think we can get, a Sheriff of Nottingham TV series. I think we need this.
So, yeah, again, and this is hopefully, probably unattached to Russell Crowe's Robin Hood. According to this article, the first film is simply going to be titled Hood.
Hood, huh? That's going to cause some marketing demographic confusion.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? I'm on board. Like, I don't know.
This isn't about an unorthodox inner city school teacher.
It's not gonna be Edward James Olmos in Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be Hood, and we're gonna talk about again, Robin Hood, and I'm on board. My big concern with this is that it's basically my same concern with Spider-Man. It's a single, I don't want to say franchise, because Robin Hood's really not a franchise. It's public domain, for crying out loud. But it's a single story that, if this report is accurate, they're going to try to stretch into multiple stories. So it's not just Robin Hood. It's Friar Tuck. And I don't know. I just don't know if, like, okay, I love Friar Tuck, but is there enough to Friar Tuck for him to be the star of his own movie?
I don't. And we thought Sony was stretching it.
The Sony.
I mean, well, stretching it with Spider-Man, rather, more specifically. I mean, what the fuck are they doing? What the actual fuck are they? And could they maybe be planning on weaving in like more legendary figures, characters from the time period? I mean, who else could they fucking get? Genghis Khan? I mean, I don't know.
There's Prince John and King Richard. You know, Richard the Lionheart. I guess. I mean, still though. I mean, it's stretching it. Mm-hmm. Horribly. I mean, it's stretching it to where it may never walk straight again. We're talking cinematic prolapse. I'm going to have to trademark that phrase. I mean,
anyways.
So again, is it viable? I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I don't think that these characters, the merry men, have enough going for them to star in their own movies, but I do like the idea, again, according to this article, which is really all we have at the moment, that this would not be anything like the Russell Crowe film, which tried to play it gritty and realistic. This is going to basically be more of a quote-unquote old-school swashbuckler, which I like, because, again, after rediscovering the 1992 Prince of Thieves film and comparing it against the 2010 Russell Crowe movie, I have to say, I kind of like a lot of that swashbuckling adventure style the traditional Robin Hood narrative has. And if they can work that in a way, if they can work that in effectively in a way that doesn't seem too overly cheesy, then I'm all for this. Yeah. I just don't know if a full cinematic universe is viable. Like, by all means, if you can make a Robin Hood movie or 3 out of this in this style, go for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make a Will Scarlet, a Friar Tuck, and Little John. Like, Little John, I think, is the only one who even has enough of a character that you could really stretch into a starring role.
Yeah, if this were just something like a Robin Hood trilogy, mm-hmm. I would be on board with that. I mean, it would be different. It'd be kind of like the Venom movie, where it's like, well, I don't know how you're going to do it, because really he's only ever had the Sheriff of Nottingham as an opponent. But yeah, okay, I'm down.
Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham, but they're more like, they always sort of teamed up.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, there's enough there though to where it'd be like, okay, well, sure, fine, let's do it, Sony. Take me on the ride. Let's see where you go. It can't be worse than the first Spider-Man trilogy. But this like interconnected universe thing, I don't know. Just so much attempted duplication of Marvel's formula on so many levels.
Well, we've got Fox is doing it with X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Sony tried to do it with Spider-Man. That seems to be just blowing up. They're going to try to do this with Robin Hood, of all things. DC freaked out after the Avengers proved to be so successful and basically rushed half-cocked into their own version of it, completely forsaking the excellent Nolan series. And so, the Nolan Batman series, so that they could cast Ben Affleck as Batman instead. And so, now we've got... It's just weird. It's just weird. In a way, it's sort of like when everyone tried to rip off The Dark Knight, where people tried to do their own gritty movies based on The Dark Knight, but a lot of times people just kind of copied the superficial elements and didn't understand what made it work in the first place. It's sort of like that, only now people are copying Marvel's formula where they don't understand that Marvel planned this out in advance with characters they knew they could get to do these things. They knew that they could make an Iron Man movie. They knew they could make a Thor movie and a Captain America movie. And they knew that in doing those movies, they had a chance to weave a connected universe together, and they did just that from the get-go. That was the plan. Spider-Man, really not really... Spider-Man floundered with that because, again, it's only really one franchise. The DC attempt is gonna fail miserably because they're trying to just front load their second movie in this series. People just aren't taking the right lessons from the Marvel experiment. Something like this works because Marvel planned it out so thoroughly. And I don't see any of these being so thorough. I mean, maybe with Robin Hood, you could, because you're starting from scratch, and if you start from film one and build it from there with the right intentions in mind, you could do it. But even if you do successfully pull it off, I'm not sure if you're going to get superhero money from that, because the sort of Robin Hood, the market that wants to watch Robin Hood, I'm not sure is necessarily the same market that wants to watch a Marvel superhero movie. Sure, there's probably a fair degree of overlap. I am evidence enough of that there is some overlap, but I don't know if it's a person-to-person duplication. You're probably not going to get, even if you do it right, you're probably not going to get Marvel Cinematic Universe money.
No, I don't think you are. This whole interconnected universe thing that Marvel has done, and they've done it for the most part well up to this point. Now, it looks like they plan on taking a steaming dump all over it in the future, but for right now, it's pretty solid. It's such a huge undertaking. I mean, everyone else is trying to duplicate this, except they're trying to do it now. I mean, it's like building some massive technological feat of greatness like a fucking Death Star or some shit. It's going to take time. And it's huge. What Marvel did was a massive undertaking. I mean, years in the planning, the making, and the effort ultimately has shown up to this point, except for a couple of dark spots looking at you, Iron Man 3. But I mean, the characters and the universe itself, it has become more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
And that's something that's not going to be easily, if at all, duplicated. And Sony, they're just seemingly giving up before they even get a foot out of the gate. I mean, what if Marvel had freaked out when when one of their installments had a weaker showing, and just, aborted the whole thing? They're not staying in it. If they're serious about doing this, they can't just puss out at the first sign of trouble and be like, oh no, oh my God, scrap it all. I don't think anyone's going to be able to duplicate, and I think it may actually get so bad to where, you could see companies getting into financial trouble because of trying to duplicate this.
Mm-hmm.
Just, if you're going to do it, then fine, but think it out better than you're doing. And for the love of God, if you commit to it, at least see it through for 3 movies. That seems to be the magic number these days.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And this isn't just something that they're trying to pull off with Robin Hood. There's also a rumor that they're going to try to do this with Ghostbusters, actually.
Oh, that's right. I do remember reading that.
A cinematic Ghostbusters universe. This is Dan Aykroyd, who, has been writing for Ghostbusters for forever. Basically, he said this: my whole thinking on Ghostbusters now is that it's beyond a sequel or a prequel or just another TV show. I'm thinking, what does the brand mean to Sony? Everybody, all of us on the team there now, the executives, the creators, myself, Ivan Reitman, we're all thinking about it in terms of what do we build this thing into over the next 10 years? Just not another TV show, but what's the totality of it? What's the whole mythology from beginning of their lives to the end of their lives? Ghostbusters is at 9 years old. Ghostbusters in high school.
Oh, good God. Oh.
So.
God damn it.
It seems as if Sony is just blindly swinging away, trying to hit anything that might prove to be somewhat successful as a cinematic universe to counter Marvel.
Okay, now granted, I could see more of a Ghostbusters universe than a Robin Hood universe. But that's not saying much.
See, I don't even think you could do a Ghostbusters universe because, I mean, okay, if we're using the Marvel template as the roadmap, then you give each character their own film and then they come together for a team-up. But does anyone care about actually watching a Ghostbusters movie if it's just the individual characters? No, the whole appeal is the team. I mean, again, at best you're thinking, okay, Ghostbusters, well, let's reboot it and do a new trilogy. That's fine. But as a quote-unquote cinematic universe, it just seems silly.
I don't know. There could be, Ghostbusters did have some interesting elements to it that I thought would be kind of cool. As I sit here and I think about it, it could be kind of cool to get some like the history behind some of the demons and ghosts that they fight, the realms that spawn them, things like that. Whereas I can't really find that much in a Robin Hood thing to build anything with. There's a bare minimum of lore, quote unquote, with Ghostbusters that could be interesting. Whole universe interesting? I don't know. Certainly a TV series, maybe. I mean, why the fuck not? We got everything else. But that's why I say I can see Ghostbusters more easily making that transition. It won't, mind you, but I can conceivably see it happening more likely than, Robin Hood of all fucking things.
Are they talking about like Ghostbusters in high school? Like,
yeah,
shit.
And that's just fucking, as you would say, goddamn amateur hour.
Well, I mean, the first...
That's a CW show if I ever heard one right there.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the continuity of the first film, but apparently if they were to take it back to square one and reboot it, and they could do whatever they really wanted with it, so that's really not an issue. But still, the concept itself is just ridiculous.
It is. Because if you have Ghostbusters in high school, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. It's not going to end up being what we would want Ghostbusters to be. You're going to have all this fucking teen drama probably thrown in.
Probably,
as I
yes.
almost set myself on fire on the air. But, God, we don't need that. Just stop. Ghostbusters at 9 years old? Ghostbusters in high school? No, let's just see. Maybe have the Ghostbusters be not just a group, but an organization. Maybe see, like different types of demons in different part of the world, different apparitions, things like that. Each one having its own flavor and its flair and backstory, in Russia and the Middle East and China.
And with all those
crazy
places,
shit out of China.
And with all of those places, there are all local mythologies that deal with the afterlife that you could explore with a film like Ghostbusters. So.
Exactly. And this whole thing of let's turn this into a biographical universe of the same characters. You're not going to get enough traction on that there, pal. I'm sorry. I don't think so. I just want to see Ghost blow up and see Bill Murray be funny.
I don't think Bill Murray's going to be in it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think any of the originals are going to be in it.
I think
that went down the tube when Harold Ramos passed.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at now is just. I think what we're looking at now is a reboot taken back to like the very basics and then working from there. But again, this seems like Sony just desperately wants something along the same lines as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, maybe it's Spider-Man, maybe it'll be Robin Hood, maybe it'll be Ghostbusters.
Maybe it'll be Kratos.
God.
Now, see, that one would actually make some sense.
Would it?
A little bit. More than, okay, by comparison, yes. Can I sit here and present a point-by-point pitch as to why it would? No, but I'm just saying, when I hear, I'm thinking, okay, well, that makes more sense than Robin Hood or Ghostbusters, because they've at least got, like, 5 or 6 games around it to build off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is that. But I don't know. Video game movies are already a risky proposition as is. I am convinced that an actual good movie based off of a video game is impossible at this point, so that'll be that.
The first Mortal Kombat movie, the first one, was pretty damn good.
It was good for
and
what
most
it
people agree with
was, but it wasn't amazing. And it ended up on a cliffhanger for a sequel that they couldn't even get most of the cast to agree to be in, so I don't know what's going on there. But that sort of wraps up the news week for basically a Geek Show 35. Again, a lot of news in the past 24 hours that dropped. We've got Sony flailing wildly trying to find something that'll catch on fire. Marvel's spiting Fox by canceling their own comic book series. Spider-Man's being rebooted again because reasons. Robin Hood might become the next blockbuster franchise. And Avengers 3 sucks, and we haven't even seen the second one yet. A lot going on this week. You can catch us on Twitter at A Geek Show. Send us an email at basicallyageekshow@gmail.com. On iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, and Stitcher. For Jack, this is Mike, signing off.
Stay classy, San Diego.